Here's what I've learned being single 7 months after being in a relationship for 4 years that should have left earlier. First of all, take your time. If you don't want to talk to a single male, you don't need to. But if you do, then do it and have fun with it. It doesn't need to be serious. It's not like high school. Just because you're hanging out with someone, you don't need to like make things official. It's what you want to make of it. My personal favorite part is being independent. I am so independent now. I actually prefer to be alone sometimes, which couldn't be me before. I'm not afraid to stay in. I'm not afraid to go out. I do whatever I want to do. I am so content being alone. I have so much fun alone.
Congratulations!
Translation, I left a perfectly good boyfriend of 4 years thanks to a 1-2 punch of endless social media consumption and societal pressure to misconstrue the concept of female youth. Instead of accepting that it's time to be an adult and move on with the next stages of my life, I conjured up nonsense arguments to justify living my most fertile years like a child. But instead of developing, I'm just gonna dress up like a corner-dwelling service provider of shame, go out drinking as I delude myself into thinking that I deserve better because Disney movies told me so. And after 3 months of bed hopping, a feeling is creeping into my gut that I have possibly made the wrong decision, but it's easier for me to choose denial as I plaster on a pound of overpriced makeup on my face to try to prove to myself that I'm happy with my decisions despite being exhausted, cold, and incredibly lonely. But even as that harsh realization refuses to escape every facet of my life, I refuse to recognize and accept that I have made yet another horrible, terrible mistake with my life.
I've learned so much about myself that I didn't know before. Also, am learning to love myself and truly myself. Have my energy back. Like, I'm attracting good energy because my energy is good. I'm so confident, I'm so happy, and my friendships are the strongest they've ever been because I don't have negative energy affecting me anymore. So you only have to worry about yourself. It's nice to not worry about what someone else is doing and do whatever the heck you want to do. It's fun to take risks and travel and meet people that you wouldn't meet before and just put yourself out there and get butterflies again and flirting and like, I don't know, it's just fun. And just remember, what's meant for you will find. So go live your life, because I'm telling you, it's a lot of fun.
That is without a doubt the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
I gotta hand it to modern women. They have an uncanny ability to be completely oblivious to the massive contradictions that they make mid-sentence. You said it yourself, woman. You love the idea of being completely independent with your life, but nothing could be further from the truth. Independence means that you are taking control of your own destiny, and yet at the same time, you're convinced that the right man is just going to magically swoop in whenever the time is right, like your life is just some low-budget romantic comedy. Your besties have more control over your life, as they're most likely the ones who convinced you to break up with your ex in the first place. And when you do end up meeting somebody, you force them to do the heavy lifting as you try to find excuses as to why that man is not your destiny. You don't even have any independence in the color of the boxed wine that you pair with your overpriced frozen meals. You depend on that wine to get you through yet another day of the soul-crushing experience that is your lack of a life. On a scale of 1 to 10, how close am I?
Let's talk about the 3 biggest mistakes I made when I started dating after my divorce. I didn't take time to figure out what I wanted. I focused and listened to what other people wanted. And then I paid attention to what the person I was dating wanted instead of myself. Instead, I should have taken the time to figure out what I wanted to do. Did I want to travel? Did I want to learn something new? Did I want to not date at all and just take some time alone?
Nobody cares, Sean. Nobody cares.
If there's one thing that these crusted out divorced broads will never understand, it's that it's impossible for them to figure out what they want. And that's not a surprise. Modern women can't even figure out what they want for dinner without getting offended by men. And even though they claim that they want independence and control, modern women, by their own testimonial evidence, have proven that they suck when it comes to that sort of life control. When these broads initiate divorces, it's an emotional impulse, and they don't have any plan on what they're going to do after the divorce is finalized. They're flying by the seat of their pants that are constantly being thrown on another man's bedroom floor. And when they do try to figure out what they want, they just freeze up like a deer in headlights. Even though that description barely works, as a deer will jump onto the road from out of nowhere and give the driver a split second to react. No, this is actually a better way to describe it.
Then people started asking me, when am I going to date again? Do I want to get married again? Am I going to find somebody? How am I going to start dating? And that gave me tremendous pressure to start doing that. Even if I didn't actually want to, or I didn't even know if I didn't want to. And then when I got into the relationship or I started dating, because I didn't know what I actually wanted, I just relied on what the other person I was dating wanted. The 3 lessons: Take the time to figure out what you want. Don't let the outside noise seep in, and make sure that if you're in a relationship or you're dating somebody, you have a voice. Make sure you're just not going along to make somebody else happy.
I knew you'd notice that.
Oh, I know that. And I knew you'd know I'd know you knew.
You didn't know what you wanted, so you focused on what the other man wanted, even if it meant sacrificing what you wanted, even though you didn't know what you wanted because you didn't take the time to think about what you wanted, even though the only thing you knew that you wanted was that you didn't know what you wanted. You didn't even know if you didn't even want to date, which makes no sense because you should know if you don't want to date in the first place. At this point, I think it's just obvious that you're just a glutton for your own personal punishment. And I hate to break it to you, sister, you should have figured that out long before your ovaries decided that you were a lost cause. You fail to recognize that what you want is a man to step up and lead. It's a biological drive that's existed since the dawn of mammals. But whenever the man does lead, you refuse to follow because if your addiction to your own sense of self-defeat is stronger than your ability to stay loyal. And it's this very reason that men couldn't care less about what you want or what you don't want. You can't give them what they want, and that's all that matters.
I know it, your family knows it. Dogs know it.
Okay, I don't know what this man's obsession with me is, but I think he's obsessed with me. He doesn't follow me, but he comments on all my videos, which means he searches up my name because you know I barely come on people's For You page, and takes the time to harass me on all of my TikToks. Like, sir, don't you have a wife, kids, or boyfriend to worry about? He says that I'm what's wrong with the world, but he's an older man bullying younger women. I sense insecurity. Either way, thank you for the engagement. Bye.
That's why I praise the Lord for prostitutes.
Oh, you're living in a glass house on this one, sister. You had to open multiple videos and track down this guy's comments and get a list together to prove your point. What, don't you have a life? Well, probably not. You're an only freaks girl. You've shamed your family, threw out 99.9% of the world's dating market, and even that remaining 0.1% are men you're incapable of respecting, and your content, if we can call it that, is destroying the world. What he's doing is not harassment, and even if it was, who cares? It's the internet. It's a toxic sludge of politically motivated hate mongering, adult content creators, trolls, and sarcastic intergalactic bounty hunters. This is nothing new. If you're a victim of anything, it's your own stupidity by trying to muster up an army of digital simps to try to validate your feelings. And to answer your question, does this man have anything better to do? Yeah, probably, but you don't. You don't have a husband, you don't have a family, or anything other than your job, which is speeding up the downfall of humanity. So you're in really no position to say anything at all, Toots. I'd tell you to go get a life, but we all know that even if you did have one of those, you'd still figure out a way to screw it up.
That's why I say prostitutes, prostitutes.
The moment you are thinking about exclusivity with someone, that is the day, I mean within the day, that you should book a date with someone else. Ideally a second or third date with someone from your back burner. I don't mean this in a commitment issues way.
Liar, liar, liar.
If anything, it is the exact opposite. I want you to be making informed decisions in your love life, especially if you are a woman in your early or mid 20s. These are prime years. I do not want you to be committing to some guy just because he pays the bill. That is not something that is unique or special. I don't want you committing to a guy just because he's a certain height or because he dresses really well.
Who are you talking at?
I have this sinking suspicion that you don't legitimately have an emotional investment in every single woman who may have found themselves a halfway decent guy, so are you talking to yourself? I mean, it wouldn't surprise me. You're a modern woman and they don't have a friend in the world. That and modern women are incapable of legitimate commitment. You refuse to understand that your early 20s are your prime years, but not in the way that you think. You think that's the stage in life where you should be experiencing as much fun as you can because once you get older, you won't be able to. But in reality, you should be focusing more on finding a suitable mate that ticks most of your boxes so you can romantically bond, start a family, and prevent your bloodline from being erased from humanity. You are not meant to live a life of endless hedonistic bliss. And if that was the case, you wouldn't be convincing yourself that it's perfectly reasonable to sabotage not only your relationship, but the relationship of everyone else on the frickin' planet.
The moment you find someone that you're really excited about, go out with someone who fills their potential faults. Go out with someone who's taller or richer or such that you can isolate isolate the person you're seeing down to the connection that you two have, because ultimately style, success, attraction, chemistry, all of these things will fluctuate over time. Yes, even chemistry. Menopause happens.
You're amazing. You figured this all out already.
Yes, menopause does happen. What's your point? If anything, that's an exact reason why you must find a suitable mate as soon as humanly possible. Once you find one, you don't try to gamble for something better. It's not going to work out the way you think. What exactly is the alternative there, sister? Yeah, chemistry fluctuates over time. It's called being human. You're not going to feel the same way about your man that you've been with for the last 50 years as you did after the first 5 months of meeting him. That's just not realistic, and that's not how life works. You have to put in the effort to make those things work. You're going to fight. You're going to have bad moments, but what counts is if you're willing to support each other when things get bad. That's how relationships get stronger in the long term. And in your case, that's never going to happen. How can it? You can't even support yourself when things are good. You're already planning to cheat on this guy because you think you might be missing out on something better, even though the two of you match on some kind of level that's beyond superficial. And that is because you have extreme commitment issues thanks to your inability to feel anything that isn't deeply rooted in chaos, conflict, and drama.
You get a variety of data points by going on a first date here, a second date there, dinner date, drinks date, coffee date, going for a walk at the park, museum. By going out with a variety of people, you are then able to distill each person down to what is the raw connection that you have. Are you genuinely compatible? And the only way to know about compatibility is to figure out your own values, and the only way to know that is through going out, figuring things out. The dating philosophy, the raw steps that I outline in my workshop, which you should really grab from the top of my page, set up such that you can rinse and repeat, and easily off-ramp into a relationship if and when you find a special connection.
You have had the frontal lobe of your brain removed and replaced with bubble wrap.
Hey lady, if you're going to try to peddle some wares, you shouldn't be telling the key components of what you're selling before the client has had a chance to actually buy the product. But even then, anybody who's stupid enough to buy this one-way ticket to disaster is already beyond saving. Jumping from person to person is the worst possible thing you can do. With every man you interact with, the more that you're going to be incapable of actually respecting the man you ultimately choose. You're setting your brain up to be unsatisfied because that one man you settle for isn't going to make as much money as one guy. He's not going to be as good in bed as the other. He may not dress as nice as one guy or take you out on lavish dates as the other. The goal is to find someone good enough, not to find the perfect one. It's not all that complicated, and you have every advantage to get that done. Advantage is that you botch at every turn. There are millions of single men out there. You just ignore them in hopes of finding someone better. But you need to understand something, sister. If you're going to gamble like that, don't forget, the house always wins, and that house lies within the shadows of the wall.
The macro framework, go on a lot of dates, and the second you want to commit, go on a few more dates. I have a lot of videos on the more micro framework for what are you talking about on these dates? How are you getting these dates? What should your Hinge profile look like? So check those out if you're struggling. I have profile reviews and everything. You know where to go. Follow for more.
You blew it. Capiche?
You know what's sad? There are thousands of these hopelessly single women who actually charge money for step-by-step guides on how to teach other hopelessly single women on how to appear remotely human, which I guess is kind of a blessing, because if a woman needs a script on what to say when having a basic conversation with a man, then she's already beyond saving. And at that point, it's just the brainless leading the gullible. Modern women have denied the obvious. Men are not that complicated. We want honesty, loyalty, and respect. But for some reason, asking these things makes us the bad guys that are unworthy of the diseased void of stench-ridden misery that they offer. Modern women are nothing more than medicated, empty husks of humans who are incapable of expressing any form of emotion that isn't based in anger or bitterness. And I hate to break it to you, sister, but there isn't any guide that you can drunkenly put together that will ever change that. And if you don't believe me, then maybe you should buy my guide on how to be a pleasant woman. It's 1 page and 3 words, and so you should be able to breeze through it in about 6 months. Well, what are those 3 words, you might ask? Well, you're gonna have to pay me $200 to find out. And that's gonna do it for today's video, gentlemen and gents. And as always, if you find that my particular brand of comedy is bringing you to the brink of laughter, then why don't you scroll on down and click that like and subscribe button. ring the notification bell, leave a couple of comments, and share this video so we can give the good old-fashioned middle finger to the YouTube algorithm. Keep your heads held high as you fly through those peaceful, friendly skies, gentlemen and gents, and until next time, peace out, homies.